I'm Jean-Felix Lepage from OIII Mining, Director of Operation. So we're focusing on the Marban project, developing on a PFS right now and targeting production in 2026.
Welcome aboard. You're deputizing for Jose, who's needed elsewhere. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you in person. So,
Director of Operations. What does that mean?
It means a lot of things. So it means not geology.
Right. You make things work.
So kind of a country manager for Abitibi, if you will. So basically, our coordination of all the activities that we have, and also the technical studies. So I'm kind of a study director at the same time. So.
Right. We know the PFS is coming up soon, Q3. I'm told reliably by Jose. What are the big components or important components to you that you've been asked to deal with, and what's important to the company?
So you remember that we had a PEA back in 2020. So since then we updated the resources. That was the first step towards the PFS. We published that early this year. We now have 2.3 million ounces of measured and indicated. So now that's the base of the PFS. We also did a bunch of trade-offs to optimize the concept of the project. First one is around the tailings. So the PEA was a big tailing dam, a big setup. So now we have a new concept where we have a starter dam for the first 5 years, and then move to the smaller pits that will be mined in the first 5 years. So that's the first big change. Second one is the trade-off around the recovery at the mill. We have indication from the lab test that it's a better indication than what we expected at the PEA, and also a few trade-off at the mill, targeting a smaller grind and also a CIP circuit instead of a CIL. So expecting an increase in the recovery. And the last big step change is coming from the throughput, with 4 million tons a year, so around 12,000 tons a day at the PEA. Now we increase that by 50% at 6 million tons a year, 17,000 tons a day. So the production profile will go up, as you can imagine.
Yeah, okay, so these are big moments, right? The PFS is really important because it's the first sort of real meaningful economic study. PEA plus or minus 30% variance on that typically, and not too many people give it credit. And those are three, well, quite serious upgrades there. But talk to me about the future of this company, because one of the big accusations thrown at this company was that it was just so far away from being in production. It's not of interest today, and it's despite the market had a little bit of kind of resurgence recently. People are starting to understand the story, and as the end point is a little bit closer, etc. But when you say, I'm kind of keen to understand how you envisage moving this forward. You talked about some of the optimization stuff that you're focused on, but for the company, what's kind of big moment things going to change the market's perception of this from being a maybe to a should be type company? So
as you said, the PFS is really important because it gives credit to the project. PEA are not well understand, or the confidence in PEA have been low in the market. So bringing that, de-risking the project through the technical studies, but bringing that to production isn't only the technical stuff. It's everything that go with it. So we're also working on the environmental baseline. So we'll be done with that this year. So we've been kind of ahead of the timeline on the baselining, and then next step will be the feasibility study in 2023, and then we can combine the baselining and the feasibility study to do the impact assessment. So basically, when we are talking to production in 2026, all the different steps, the technical stuff and the environmental and the permitting are all weighed in that schedules.
EIA is kind of, it's a funny one. Right? So non-mining people demand it. You've got to do things the right way. You miners need to improve your image and narrative. Investors can't stand it because it delays them getting to what they want, which is the company actually getting the production. What's the reality on the ground in Quebec? Because this is a Quebec conference. We've seen a few of the government bodies here. We've seen a lot of the institutional guys here. What kind of support do you get from that?
So I mean, the different agencies that are involved in the process are quite open on what they required. So we're already in discussion with them to understand the process, so the specifics that we will request. So even before starting really the process itself, we know what's coming, and we're in open discussion. It's quite clear that the requirements and the steps that we need to go through. So it's so the risk of being a new request or new big change in the process itself from here until production is really low. So basically, we know what we will need to do.
And how long does that process take? Not for you, but after you submit it.
It's a work together process. It's not like we do something, we send it to them. So we share the document as we built it, so we can integrate their comments and we can integrate everything before we submit a final submit. So.
Okay, on the PFS, you've talked about upgrading important components there with your 2.3 million measured and indicated. It's a nice size here, but Jose's always talked the big game about the potential scale of this thing. So I get the PFS is really, really important, and the market is definitely looking to you to deliver that. And what's happening in the background in terms of scaling this thing up?
So there's still exploration upside around the pit. So we still have 4 drills at Marban right now. 2 that are drilling really close to the pit, so really extension of the pit themselves, and also on the same trend elsewhere on the property. So there's still that exploration upside is still there, but at this point we don't need that upside to move towards the technical studies and to move towards the permitting.
No, but at the same time, these days we're seeing a lot of M&A activity going in the marketplace. But the big guys are looking to, fill up some of their resource and reserve numbers. Mm-hmm. And again, Jose, like every good CEO, is talking the game of getting this thing into production themselves and yourselves. But you've also got to make yourself look pretty, right? So the amount of meters being drilled, will matter. So what are you aiming at?
In reality, that game of M&A and what the major are thinking, it's not under our control. So what we can control is making sure that we're progressing in a disciplined way. So even if something happened in the future, it will be de-risking the project for us. And even if the one way or the other, we can bring that to projection in 26. That's the thing about the exploration. So we can discover, we can increase the resources. But at one point, if we want to have this in production, we need to settle on an infrastructure basis, and that's pretty much what we are doing at the PFS.
Okay, so you guys are good for cash. There's also some equities which you're sitting on as well, so you can sort of do what you need to do. I'm intrigued by the sort of tidying up of the balance sheet, as it were, in terms of whether it be through offloading land packages or acquiring land packages or farming out and that sort of thing. Is there much more to do? Is there much sort of cleaning of house?
There's around the property itself. There's some opportunity to work with the neighbors to unlock some of the value. So we know that the limit of the pit is right on the limit of the property, but it's not. It's not all in my control. I'm focusing on what we can control, and that's improving the economics through and de-risking the project through the technical studies, and also by everything around that. So we talk about a lot for the technical study in the last few minutes. I want to touch also on the stakeholder engagement as well, because it's so environmental is one thing, permitting is one thing, but you want to make sure that your stakeholders are supporting your project when you reach that point. So we're already engaged with our neighbors, so really the residents that are sitting around the project. So we did meet with them a second time just a month ago. So we're already engaging with that, and same thing with First Nations. So we want to create those relations that will be really useful when we get there.
I want to talk to you about the stakeholder engagement and ESG and all of those wonderful things that you guys have to talk about. You have to be seen to talk about it, and I want to try and understand how real it is on the ground, because if people looking in, there's an audience that says, I'm not a buyer. I'm not a buyer of all of this. Just get on with mining. And there's another audience that says, you guys need to up your game, and it is important. You must do it properly. I mean, tell us about the reality on the ground. What happens if you don't do these things?
So we do a lot of real things. For the first one, the obvious one is the Eco-Logo certification that we have. So it's not just a stamp that we can show, it's also a way to work. I mean, on a daily basis, you can ask my contractor, you can ask the employees, they're using format, they're using material from that. So they see on a daily basis the impact of being certified with Eco-Logo. There's a audit also coming this year, so to audit our way to do things. And Eco-Logo is really ESG. It's not only environment or safety. It's covering everything. And also that's we see the impact on the ground with the residents around. We see people, the image that we are giving in towns, and we need the support of the population, and we need the support of First Nation, and doing the right thing, doing the giving importance to ESG help us having that image on a local basis as well.
So what do you think about the timing of the PFS then? I've got to come back to it. That's the thing people are going to be looking for.
Yeah.
One, you said you'd deliver it. Two, it's a meaningful financial document which says here's the economics with a little bit more certainty. What do you think about releasing it in this current environment? You're going to get marked down if you don't, but you may get marked down because it's just difficult. People just go, I don't care at the moment.
But,
how do you time it?
I mean, we need to progress that. I mean, we need to bring that to production as fast as we can, and that's 2026. And we need to go through. We don't want to step over the PFS. We don't want to be that company that start at PFS but change it to IFS because you want to cut short. We want to do step by step. We want to be disciplined across those steps. And the next thing to do is that PFS. Even if I'm not controlling the market, I'm controlling what we do as a company on a daily basis.
So I guess you've got the comfort of you've got a lot of cash. So in a kind of meaningful, and I know you probably can't say this, but I would as an investor. Okay, in a very meaningful way, it's the market dip is what it is. But you've got the cash to sort of stay in control of what you need to do, and you're working towards the longer theme of we need to get into production on time.
We're seeing it on a long-term basis, so it's that 3 to 4 to 5 years until production. So we're looking further than just the short-term market conditions. So for us, it's just being lost in the attention in the short term can distract us to hit the long-term target. So we're much better to control the step-by-step approach and a disciplined approach to production.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to Q3. You better deliver.